Intimidation. The purpose of intimidation is to generate fear. I will also do this to try to confuse you by using subtle threats of intimidation, which have you wondering whether they are real or not, and whether they will actually be acted on. This is done on purpose, as you are then worried by them, but you are also concerned not to cause a fuss and involve other people for fear of being seen to be overreacting. Remember, I will of course suggest to third parties that you are imagining things and touched with a dose of the crazy. Intimidation is the little brother to fury in terms of exerting a method of control. In order to deal with intimidation, remember that you are not overreacting, nor are you imagining things. I want you to believe that that is the case in order for my manipulations to have their effect on you. If you perceive that I am intimidating you, then I am. You should record the act, making a brief note in order to use a later date for the purpose of evidence should you need to 1. Convince others of my intimidating conduct. I, in all likelihood, may well have got in first with other people, but your diarized and written record is likely to trump my oral recollection. And 2. You may need it as supporting evidence if it is necessary for you to escalate matters using formal means through the courts to protect yourself, or, for example, reporting the behavior to a superior in a work context. Do not make the mistake of showing me this documentary record in the hope of proving to me that I have been doing what you say I have been doing, so that I may recognize it and that I might change. That is not going to happen. All you have done is show me the evidence that I will then destroy, and it will aggravate me, resulting in a worsening of my behavior towards you. I will regard it as a criticism. You have been treacherous. You have betrayed me. Keep the record away from home. Work is a useful place, or at a trusted friend or relatives. Make sure you update it. Do not be tempted to shy away from recording every act. They soon mount up and will prove very helpful. You may think others will regard it as trivial, but does it feel trivial to you to be intimidated? There's your reason for doing it. Whilst we are touching on documenting behavior, you ought to carry a camera and a video camera with you more or less all the time by virtue of your mobile phone. Use it to record my behavior and then send the photograph or footage to an email account you know I cannot access, and from that send it to another email account. Bear in mind, I may access your phone and see where the first email has been sent to. You should document and record throughout. There is never anything to be gained by showing this material to me, as I will try to deny it, even though it speaks for itself, suggest that you have obtained it out of context, or I will even go so far as to suggest that you have doctored it. I will not acknowledge the reality of what it shows, as it does not accord with my reality. You will need these documented examples to remind yourself what you are escaping from, that you are not going mad when I gaslight you, and ultimately you need it in support of more formal sanctions that you may need to seek should the need arise. You need to remove yourself from the scope of the intimidating conduct, so leave the room or the building where it is taking place. I am unlikely to escalate the conduct when you leave, as initially, you taking this step will wrong-foot me, and I will be left wondering why you have done this, rather than you staying and challenging me like you always have done in the past. As narcissists, we are actually predictable creatures, and we expect people to be similar, because we regard them as appliances that should function in the way that we want them to. Often, you fulfill this prophecy because you act in the same fashion, because our behavior has been designed to achieve this, and you have been conditioned to act in this way. By breaking the repetition of your behavior, it will leave us wrong-footed, and this gives you an advantage. Do not regard the intimidation as minor. It is not. It is a form of insidious control. By not reacting to it, either by complying or challenging, you are denying me a reaction, and therefore I will soon stop. I may shift to other techniques, but by denying me any kind of reaction, and thus denying me fuel, I am unlikely to waste any further energy on trying to intimidate you on this occasion. Unfortunately for you, our kind are not very good at learning lessons straight away, so it is likely we will deploy intimidation again in the future, but then you know how to deal with it. Calmly leave the situation and distance yourself from it. This immediately stops you having to be subjected to it, so you will feel better. The lack of a reaction from you nullifies its potency for me, so I will stop. You can make a note of your greater design for extricating yourself from me or managing my behavior. If every time I try to intimidate you, you respond in this fashion, you will then beat my attempt at manipulation of you through intimidation on each occasion.